you very much.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to be here, and as I went around to see where all of you work, I've been to many of the programs. So thanks for all the work that you do. On behalf of the department, I just want to let you know that I am a licensed special education teacher, general ed, and library science, and individualizing for children is what I am all about. From very little all the way through high school. So you'll see within my Imagine 2020, which is what they kind of have up there for that, is a moving forward to individualizing for children, and even to the individualized graduation plans. Making sure that kids are having access to what it is that they need to have within their own rights to make sure they're going where they need. From the special education standpoint, accommodations is really what things are about. Making sure that kids are having their needs met to learn in the way that best helps them to succeed. I am one of my very first years of experience was with the most severe of students within our school corporation. I'm from MSD Washington Township, taught there for 34 years. And so augmentative communication devices is a very important topic to me. And I want to make sure that if you have any children that actually need devices in which to actually help them communicate, please contact the Department of Education if you're not able to get that done and completed for a child, because we can make that happen. It's a very important topic to me to make sure that all kids have the ability to actually communicate their needs to others. And if they need assistive devices to do that, then we want to make sure that they have it. So special education teachers, I'm sure I'm really talking to a group who may experience this from time to time. We have a shortage of teachers in that area, and we have had a shortage of teachers for several years actually in Indiana. We are beginning to really do a strong emphasis on making sure we have special education teachers in the state to fill all our classrooms. We just received a $5 million grant from the U.S. Department of Education that's allowed us to work with IU to open up a Center for Teacher Quality, and that Center for Teacher Quality will really focus on special education teachers. It will have an impact on professional development perhaps for other teachers as well, but it has a special focus just on the needs of special ed students. And then breakdown on, I thought I would talk about these three bullets here: equity and student access to resources and instructional support. So it's really my philosophy. I don't care where children go to school. I don't care their zip code in which they go to school. They all should have access to equal and equity in resources that we provide to kids. And so that's a mission of mine. And in my new budget that I just put out at the state level, I'm going to give you just one example, and that would be technology. I see great technology in equity across the state of Indiana. We have classrooms and whole schools and whole districts that have one-to-one technology for every single child, and they have access to that every day, even maybe taking it home. And then I have situations where we have a computer lab where the kids might get in there once a week. And that's causing even more inequity in the resources that kids have access to because they're absolutely going to need to have that infusion of technology when they graduate. So I've put in my budget 3 different areas in which technology needs to be assisting schools. We need to put money in there to assist schools with getting technology to kids. So that's just one example of that. So high quality instruction from the very best educators with high learning expectations and support for all Hoosier students. That's really, I consider that to be the role of the Department of Education, to work with you to be sure that we're always providing the best instruction for our kids. I'm sure Kristen and the team here today will be focused mostly on instruction, as they should. There's some regs and things you have to know about and things we have to do, but for the most part, we're really talking about getting accommodations for kids, making sure that we can meet their needs, and what does that look like. I travel the state 2 to 3 days a week, and I see great poverty in the state of Indiana, and we are at 22% poverty. And with that comes a whole myriad of things that we need to pay attention to as a state and from that state level. So one of them is food. And I know we use federal funding for all the school nutrition programs, and as a result, we are still having to provide food pantries in many of our schools to go home with kids on the weekend, making sure that they've got enough food on the table before they come back to school on Monday, because we've been feeding them breakfast and we've been feeding them lunch, and then in our after-school programs we've been feeding them dinner. My biggest worry on snow days really isn't that we're missing a day of education, because we'll make that up. It's that I have kids going home to possibly no food for the day. Summers are always troubling to me, and that's why we had a pretty expansive program in nutrition over the summer. A lot of PR. We tried to get the word out as much as we possibly could, because literally we had the funding to feed children and families. If you wanted to come and eat, you could just come and eat. We didn't even screen, no screening for who shows up. So wanting to make sure that food was out there for kids. Student-centered approach that focuses on diverse needs of each and every student to exit our pre-K-12 education system prepared to enter college and career. That's really why we're here, making sure that it is individualized. And I think I'll pause here a little bit and talk to you about the assessment system. So right now, as you know, we have a pass-fail approach to our I-STEP test. Every child takes the same questions at the same time during the same time period. The United States government, however, has given us the flexibility to utilize what they call computer adaptive testing. And some of you might be familiar with, so I'm going to put a vendor name out there, not because it's a vendor we might use, but because most people might be familiar with it. So is anyone familiar with a product like NWEA? Okay, that's an example of computer adaptive testing, where it is individualizing for the student and you actually know how the student is performing. Okay, that's critical to what you do. It's critical for instruction, actually. And then we give that pass-fail test that all of you could tell me who's not going to do well on it before we spend millions of dollars giving it. It's that simple. So I want to streamline the process. I want to use a computer adaptive approach. I want to give you two pieces of information. I want you to have the formative information that you're used to getting, but I also want to be able to tell you that they're on track in their grade level standards, so that you get both pieces of information, you get immediate feedback from the test, and then you can utilize that information, have a lot more time for teaching and a lot less time on testing. So that's where my vision is for assessment, and we'll be rolling that out actually later on. We have committees meetings that will be coming up, and I'm meeting with some stakeholder groups even this week to talk about what that might look like. So last legislative session, we were successful in working with special education groups to get a bill passed that actually gave the opportunity for all students who have special needs to be able to receive all diplomas. Now you might think, what are you talking about? But in actuality, there was a piece in law that said that every school corporation, every corporation area could actually decide if they wanted their graduation standards to be higher than the general diploma, okay, or even higher than the Core 40. And then if you attended those schools, you had to meet those graduation requirements. And so as a result, you can imagine we had some students with special needs who actually could not get a diploma, didn't have the option to get a general diploma, and so that affected their outcome. Instead, they got a certificate of completion, which didn't really do what they wanted to have to go forth with their opportunities. So we are very excited that we got that fixed in the law, and so now special education students, really all students, have to have access to the minimum diplomas, no matter what the school may say you need to have in addition. So that's a good thing for all of us. So I invite you to actually go to the department's website and visit Imagine 2020. It's a document I put out a few months ago. It will talk to you about all of the programming and pieces that we've been putting in place with schools, working with schools in the state of Indiana. And then it will talk to you about the vision going forward. I do have three large areas to address as we go forward. The first one is pre-K. We actually can provide pre-K to all 4-year-olds in the state of Indiana for less than 1% of our state budget. already have identified monies. We will have federal monies coming our way because it's also an initiative at the federal level under the U.S. Department of Education. So we're expecting to have some funding come our way, again, regarding pre-K. And then the second large area is testing, making sure that we are streamlining that testing so that it actually has meaning to what we're doing in our schools. And I'm going to pause here a minute and tell you how it impacts kids that are English learners or students with special needs. Because when you individualize that assessment, you actually begin to tell kids that they have grown over time and you get a positive attitude towards their learning. What we have been doing in the state of Indiana, quite frankly, the whole nation, because we were required to give that pass-fail approach, we've been telling them, you failed, you failed, you failed, you failed. So I am so looking forward to having an assessment system that's going to do just the opposite and really spark our kids to have some confidence in themselves and move forward as they might need to on an individual basis as they should. And then the last portion, large area of the Imagine 2020 really speaks to the career opportunities at the middle and high school. And no matter whether your charter school goes all the way up to high school, it is totally relevant to what it is you do. Because even at the 6th grade level, we're supposed to begin talking with children about individualized graduation plans. What does it look like for you? And what kinds of things do you have in mind that you might want to be? It's just a real easy, cursory kind of thing, but you're really starting to talk about careers. And then as they advance through middle school and get into the high school, having those opportunities to really explore those kinds of options, even just offering the Introductory to Careers course, our kids have a 95% graduation rate. That is almost unbelievable to think that just one course could have that kind of impact, but kids all of a sudden get a sense of relevance as to what they're doing with their high school work. They're like, oh, you know, I might want to do this. Now I know why I need this math course. Now I know why I need this. Really helping them to individualize their own graduation plans as they move forward to more training and education. So I have to scoot off here. I have a meeting actually at 2 o'clock at my office, but Kristen invited me and I said absolutely I would be more than pleased to stop by here and give you a little indication about where my vision is for students with special needs. So with that, thank you Kristen, thank you Steve, thank you very much.